studio / boardroom / kitchen / whatever. It's just Stacy and I today. We did have a special guest, and that'll show up later in the episode. Nikki, if you remember, our in-house flight attendant, anonymous flight attendant, was stopped in just a little while ago, just to kind of give us an insight on how flight attendants deal with fear of flying, and some of the things that you can rely on them for and not rely on them for. And so unfortunately she had to run because she had another engagement, and so there's more wine and cheese for us.
Hey, it worked out really well.
It worked out really well. Said, well, a whole bottle, yay!
It's not like we haven't done this before.
It's not like we haven't done this before. We've never done it on video before, so that's new.
True. This is true.
So today, everyone always wanted to know what we're drinking. So today we are drinking Ironstone Vineyards. This is our Cabernet Sauvignon. This is available in most LCBOs. I have the link for the wine, of course, in the show notes today. One of the reasons I want to showcase this is that Legacy Service Academy. I'm hosting a wine tasting class here in Sudbury on October 24th, and we're featuring all Ironstone wines, which is very exciting. And a little secret, there's going to be a special guest Skyping in from California to chat with us during that class. So I just wanted to give them a shout out, and I figured it's fall, so I think we needed to switch into reds. We drank a lot of whites and stuff this summer, so. And there's nothing like a cab to kind of kick things into the fall season. So for good snacks, cheers. 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 Thank. So just I thought things that would pair nicely with this, I want to put some cheese and meats and stuff out, also for Nikki, and who didn't show up, or she wasn't here for it, she didn't have time to eat. So I just did a spiced Gouda, because I like that dark spices will go well with that. Pecorino Romano is one of my favorites, because it's buttery and tangy and just kind of funky, and that's why I like it. And then, of course, just meats are always a classic pairing. So I just went and got the antipasto trio or whatever at the grocery store, which was fine. And I can't remember if this is the black currant, and you remember
I think it is.
You know, like these little cracker thingies? I don't even know what they're called. Hang on, I gotta go check. Even though it's video.
It's all good.
Raisin and black currant from PC. These are the artisan crisps. Raisin and black currant. Yeah, they're really good with the.
They're very addictive. I said earlier.
So in other words, I'll move this closer to you.
Oh yeah,
and you're gonna get some crunches on here. Okay, so let's talk about fear of flying.
Yes.
So besides being a travel agent, Stacy's a multi-hyphenate. So maybe you can explain a little bit about what you do and how you have clients who have to deal with fear of flying, and then we'll talk about what that fear is, definition style, and then what symptoms are, what you can expect, and how severe it can possibly get.
Absolutely. So my other hat that I wear, sometimes and other times not, I am a certified hypnotherapist, and as well, board certified, that is, but as well, I'm also a neurolinguistic programming coach and timeline therapist. Altogether, a wonderful fit for the fear of flying. Definition of fear of flying is just someone who's scared of something occurring while they're in air and while they're in flight. I actually presently have a client that's going through this. They're going on one of their first trips to an all-inclusive and working through it. And it's interesting because it's a lot of stuff that it lies below the I'm scared of, like a fear. It's usually, you can sort of chunk it down and ask questions. So what exactly are you afraid of? It's usually ultimately they have a child at home or a husband at home, and they don't want to end up not coming home or not returning. So it actually is a fear of death, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I mean, I always joke around when I'm in a plane because, yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety. I know I'm going to be okay because what are the chances? But I always wonder why they put a life vest underneath the seat, because if you end up in the water, chances are, really, how are you going to use your life vest? That was just my kind of, I always joke around about it.
Okay, yeah, now you're going to make people scared.
No, sorry. You can cut that out then.
We're supposed to be stopping the fear of flying, not instigating it.
Okay, so, yeah, so true. But I mean, I laugh about those things a lot because, I mean, that's how you get through it. And again, so it's using humor when you're dealing with it and people around you. It's good to if you're traveling with other people, let them know that you're scared of it. A lot of people medicate through their doctors, and as we learned from Nikki, is that a lot of people don't bring their own medication. They think that the flight attendants are going to have it for them, where they don't. So if you need gravel, bring your own gravel. If you need aspirin, bring your own aspirin.
Don't bring your own alcohol.
No.
They don't really like when you bring that on the plane.
Well,
You can bring it on the plane, but you can't consume your own alcohol on the plane.
And I think that, and I think we've all seen that person that is finding that crutch to deal with that fear. And a lot of that times it tends to be alcohol because it's the easy go-to. And whether or not it probably will make them sicker while they're flying, because I mean, it doesn't feel that great when you're overindulging and then on a plane, or when worst case scenario is overindulging while you're in the plane and then you land and get the headache.
It's always a big shock to people who have that extra drink and they think they're going to be fine. They don't realize about at that altitude, like every glass is like having 3 pretty much.
Yeah.
And so if you happen to be the type person who doesn't metabolize alcohol the same as others do, that could be a little scary. So as much as you try downing drinks thinking that's going to numb things, it's never something I recommend.
I would never either. It's not such a good
And I'm always promoting drinking.
Right.
But so that would be one case where I do not promote drinking.
You only have to do it once, is overdrink while you're on a flight, and it never happens again. It really doesn't, because why wreck your beginning of your vacation or your work flight or whatever? Maybe you don't want to work, but I don't know.
And not to mention, especially for long haul flights, I've actually learned, because I get restless legs, we're going off topic here, that I find that if I was drinking in the airport and or drinking with dinner, especially those overseas flights, they give you wine with dinner.
Absolutely.
So I know I'm going to have wine with dinner, and if I drink before I get there and then I start drinking on the plane because they welcome you with champagne and everything else, I know that if I have too much, my blood sugar goes up and it goes down, and then I'm overtired and I'm not actually sleeping soundly, and then I'm waking up constantly. So if you think that's going to help you sleep, sometimes it doesn't, or it helps you sleep for a very short period of time and then it stops.
And it's such a restless sleep too, right? Like you really come out of it, and if you tied one on or anything, and then you're like, it's that same feeling, but you're in flight, and so then you're waking up and you're probably feeling a little bit nauseous and disoriented, because if you crash that quickly, it's not a good scenario.
Not to mention you're still in a tube with other people and noises and smells and movements and everything else. So having to deal with that and being intoxicated.
Yes. And it depends, I hate to say this, but it depends on what section of the cabin you're in as well. Sometimes, but I've seen some really bizarre things occur in first class, and I've seen some really bizarre things occur in economy and in premium, and you know what I mean? It's just, I think that it's just a matter of who you are and how you deal with things.
Okay, Nikki, so besides Stacy filling us in on the actual mental side of the fear of flying, I know that flight attendants, and you had mentioned it in a previous episode about how you're actually trained on how to deal with someone who has a fear of flying.
Yeah, like, I don't know if like it's not actually in the manual or anything like that, but it is like a point of discussion, right? Because it's something that does happen. And basically it's just that you do everything to make them comfortable, right? So it's like I've moved people up, like, it's like, okay, well, you can stay closer to the front, or they have a preferred seating where they'd rather, they're not very comfortable like all the way in the back, that I just try to find some other way to accommodate them, essentially.
Okay, so besides just moving them to where, as we talked about, that front of the plane, back of the plane is a really big deal. Is there anything, other tips for people on how they can prepare? So has anyone ever told you when they first get on, like, do you can recognize signs right away? I'm just trying to get an idea of what someone can do when they get on the plane that might be different than what they can prepare with Stacy beforehand.
Like if you've got like a fear of flying, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, like, you just whatever like makes you comfortable. Like that means like you bring like some kind of like gravel or something like that to like help you sleep. Like I know a lot of people that's just what they do, right? So it's really like what you have to kind of know yourself and how you fly, and like, because the flight attendants are just mostly there to help make you comfortable and help make your flight as pleasant as possible.
Have you ever come up to a situation maybe where somebody didn't think they would be that scared, and now they're coming to you and asking, like, do you have supplies of things like gravel and stuff on hand?
Yeah, we don't, unfortunately. We don't have anything like, that's really like there to give to people. We're not supposed to even technically give anything to anyone, right? Because that's a big no.
So they shouldn't be getting on the plane expecting that their flight attendant's going to take care of them when they get on there.
Well, other than like, we could try to make you more comfortable. You need a blanket, you need like, someone to talk to you, you know, because
Oh,
like
that's a good idea.
yeah, because it's like I've definitely like I had one probably the one that was probably like the worst. Like I had to go up and talk to her before she even got on board to see if we would even take her because she was so nervous, right? Because it's like you don't want someone having a panic attack in the middle of like 40,000 feet in the air,
No.
you know, and there's not much you can do. It's like
Once you're up there, you're up
once
there.
once you're up there, you're up there. You know, yes, you're pretty committed, right? So it is pretty freaky, and I definitely understand why people like, you know, they do have a fear of flying, but you know, really, it's like, you know, obviously very safe, but yeah, but I've like sat down with someone and just like talked to them, and you know,
Talk them down.
just talk them down and just get their mind off of stuff, right? So it's just basically like talk about other stuff and, you know, like what is it exactly maybe that, you know, freaks you out, because like the one thing that flight attendants do know is they do this every day, right? And a lot, so they know like, you know, what to expect, you know, what the mechanics of it, and so any fears really.
Yeah, reassurance of this is
Yes.
normal.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and a lot of people are freaked out by turbulence, right? A lot of turbulence is like obviously probably the number one thing that people are like, oh man, I hate flying through turbulence, and it freaks a lot of people out. But to me, I actually really enjoy it.
Wow. That's
It's
unusual.
fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I've sat in like, you know, the jump seat in the back, and we're going through like some storm, and you're just like, I mean, so long as you're seated and like in your belt there, you don't want to be like just standing there and like flying all over the place. That wouldn't be fun. But if you're strapped in, you're safe, you're good. Like it's like a roller coaster.
It does feel a little. It's that exact feeling.
Yeah.
Like you're going over a roller coaster
Yeah.
on the way down.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I always think it's a lot of fun, especially when you're landing and you get some bumps. I'm like, woohoo.
I'm thinking maybe they should play some kind of like midway circus theme,
Yeah.
something like that. Every time there's
Right.
turbulence.
Right.
Right? Or some kind of
That would
silly
be fun.
song. I'm surprised some airline hasn't come up with some kind of like a little jingle or a chant that everybody
Yeah,
plays when
make
there's
it
turbulence.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's totally normal and not a big deal. You know, it's like it's all part of it. It's just air, right?
Mhm.
So air underneath the plane, pretty much. So
Well, it's good to hear that that there is some kind of training involved to the point that you're comfortable making others comfortable,
yes,
which is
yeah,
always
no,
good to hear.
absolutely. It's like if you see your flight attendants nervous, that's never a good thing.
Never.
then maybe you should panic.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming in, Nikki.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so let's start with
Yes.
the beginning.
Mhm.
So when you're coaching somebody that needs to get over this fear of flying, or they're
Mhm.
planning a trip and they can't find you and have access to someone like you to help
Right.
them, how would you suggest as a first step? Is it that talking through fear to figure out what is the actual fear about?
I would say that's probably a good idea, because if you sort of unpackage why you have a fear for flying, because it's not because maybe some people are claustrophobic. Could be a huge one. I know some people that have never left the continent because they can't. If you can't drive or take a train or something, they're not going anywhere because they're claustrophobic. And so that given, I mean, I can't say that you can talk yourself out of that. Usually it's pretty intense. But normally it's just a matter of finding out, okay, why are you scared? Like, let's talk about why you're scared. What else are you scared about? What else? What
Is
else?
it? And
What
sometimes it's
else?
just the fear of the unknown.
Possibly if they haven't flown before.
Yep.
And if they have flown before, it could have been they were in one of those turbulent flights like Nikki was talking about. And is it possible that they're scared? I mean, I've been in some really turbulent flights where, I mean, you drop several, you know, like 3 to 4 feet, and it's not just like a little bump. It's like you feel like
When your stomach comes up here.
yeah, and you feel like you're lifted out of your seat a bit. That's kind of a little bit of, you know, if you're not ready for it, because you never are. When it's turbulence, it's like boom and you're in it. But I find that that's a little bit nerve-wracking, even probably for just a regular individual, if you're not expecting to drop even 8-10 feet, because sometimes they do. If they hit it like that air pocket, it's just like boom. And that's more for like overseas flights and stuff where you're actually
Well, I had a
going
flight to Mexico that kind of went that way once.
or to Thunder Bay, on the way into Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Holy turbulence on there, it's bad.
Yeah, I think we were just doing some kind of a loop-de-loop. I forget what it was, but those the dates, and when you're watching the behind the seat, you have the TV screen,
Yes.
and you can see the plane's path
Yes.
on there,
Yeah.
and it was going like this.
Oh yeah, you're like, why am I going in a circle? We only have 10 more kilometers to go.
Well, this was we barely left the airport,
Oh.
so we actually turned around, but I took a picture of it like just to show, like, am I going crazy? Is this wrong?
Right. No.
But I mean, that's maybe one thing that if you're kind of nervous about maybe watching that little, that graphic with the plane and how it's going and things may not be the best idea for you.
Absolutely.
I think movies and stuff like that would probably be a better distraction, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, I always try to time it, especially on flights, that you can have those movies on the seat if you're going overseas and stuff. It's like, how many movies can I watch without falling asleep? Or even if I do fall asleep, it's okay. Because it's like,
I just had a really good thought. Have you ever seen a movie about a plane crash on a plane? I bet you they screen and choose the movies for that reason.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I'm thinking like no snakes on a plane.
Wouldn't that be funny? I'd be
Right?
like, yeah, right? Like,
Yeah, you just don't see, like, even funnier ones. Like, I'm wondering if, like, the original airplane movies were ever on airplanes, right?
see, and that was they were fun. I have copies of those. They're
Oh,
so
do you?
fun.
They are fun, and I love those movies too. But now that I think about it, they're probably very careful not to make any kind of decisions like that that's going to affect the passengers.
I think
Right.
any kind of terrorist type movie or that kind of thing, probably not a good thing.
And there's so many of them, right?
Right.
There's always some guy in a
Action.
plane.
Like, why is there no action films on this thing? Oh, right, because they blow up things.
So they
Okay,
blow-
yeah. Oops.
specifically things in the air.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay, so that is okay. So we covered the kind of prepping beforehand.
Mhm.
So anything else besides grab all? Is there any other things that you can think of?
I've done scripts for people, hypnotherapy scripts, so
Mhm.
that they actually do them on their MP players or MP5 players, or and I send it to them as a note, and it's a way of talking through those moments, and it's just a start to end, and it's just like a meditation.
That's a cool idea.
And it actually installs positive in the hypnotherapy session. You install positive reinforcements when your mind is sort of letting it open, right, without all the stuff bothering you. And it's sort of like, let it go, just let it go, just let it go. You have no control. And it's a lot of times too, people have a control issue or trust issues, so it's, you don't have control of the plane, but really, do you want to? Do you really want to learn how to fly? Or do you want to, you have to sort of let that, certain things in life, you just have to let it happen. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If it's not meant to be. And, you know, especially when you're flying, because, I mean, really, it's sort of like, I mean, I do my thing. I mean, I have a little routine when I get to my seat. It's kind of crazy, but I hope I can share.
Of
I mean,
course,
okay,
of course,
yeah,
yeah.
it might be a little crazy for some of you, but just bear with it. I'm very holistic in the sense that I like energy, and I like, you know, being protected. And I envision a big white bubble around the plane. And I actually sit there just before we're running down the airline, and I circle it, and I ask the plane to be safe, and those kinds of things. And I mean, it's silly. It's sort of like a superstition, but
No,
it works
I don't-
for me.
But I don't think it would be any different than somebody praying
Right.
in their own religion or praying to whoever they worship
Absolutely.
to take care of them, you know, take care of the people they love at home, take care of them there, make sure everyone's safe.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the same thing.
Right, and I mean, I have to say that I've done that too. I've sat there and prayed just before. I mean, really quickly, but it's, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. If that works for you, to allow the control to be handed off to something more supreme than what we are, or the person who's flying, let it happen. And that's sort of some of the stuff that, you know, I don't try and, you know, sharing with my clients. But the thing is the reality is that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But don't think that it's going to happen before you get on, and you try to find a safe spot. So can you see yourself 10 minutes outside of landing? Picture yourself like,
Yep. What are you gonna
know,
do when you get there?
yeah, like you're deplaning. I think that's what they call it, or something, or debarking. I don't know, something debarking.
Disembarking.
Disembarking. I always say it the wrong way.
You know, getting off.
Getting off. Why do I try to use big words? It never works out well for me. And so they're getting off the plane, and I always say, you know, you're going to, let's say, Mexico, or not Mexico, probably not a good idea right now, but let's say the Dominican. You're going to the Dominican, and you're going off on, and think of yourself, you've got your carry-on, you're walking down the stairs, you're in Sudbury or
The heat
Toronto.
hits ya.
Yeah, and all of a sudden your clothes are like they're like suctioned to you because of the dampness of the humidity. Think of that, and then think about being on the bus and buying the $2 beers as you're driving to the resort. And
Yep.
think of the fun that you're going to have once you get there. Think of that, and try to figure out, you know, your safe points before you get on. So at what point do you get scared? Like, is it while you're sitting in the airport waiting? in security,
Mhm.
or is it while you're actually boarding the plane, or is it because you don't have enough room and you're worried about the unknown of, well, am I going to be able to fit my carry-on? Are they going to let me have it? And I mean, these are the scripts I think that we all run, but we don't really know we're running them. But that's how you pack, or that's how we live day to day. It's just, and I think it's something once you start flying, and you will, even if you're scared, you will fly one day, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to realize that the world is out there to see.
And once you do it, it's addictive.
It is very addictive, and it's what else can I learn from other people and different cultures. And surprisingly, you're not the only one on that plane probably that is scared, but it's how you handle it and how you choose to, I guess, be a mindset of how you get over it.
I think so, and it's one of those things that I'm always trying to be aware. Like, I'm not going to crack jokes around it because I'm not afraid of flying, so I won't make fun of things, and I can I can sort of see when certain people are nervous. Surprisingly, it's very rarely children. Do you ever notice that?
Children are like the free, all-knowing children, right? Like I remember reading this book, The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff, and it talks about the all-knowing child, and it's all about before we get socialized to do things the right way or the wrong way, or what we're supposed to do and etiquette-wise. What did you do? What were you free? And it's sort of doing that. So they're on the plane and they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw my stuff around. It's like a big living room in the air, right?
Mhm.
And isn't it really? Like, when you're carrying on your carry-on, think of it. I'm sitting in my comfy chair. Well, sort of. Make sure you bring a pillow.
Sorry, that was your Bill Dig at airline chairs.
Sorry, it depends on what class. Even the nice ones aren't that nice. I gotta be honest. They're like
There's no such thing as lumbar support on a plane.
No, none. Doesn't matter what section. Just like, bring your pillow. Like, bring the stuff that you'd be comfy at home. And in your carry-on. It doesn't. I know everyone says, "Oh, bring that extra set of clothes." Okay, a little bit, but not. If you bought insurance, you can buy clothes and get it free, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
and if you need a blanket, like, bring a blanket.
bring a blanket.
The blankets that they give you on the plane
are crap.
are so thin you can see through them usually. I occasionally get those little polar fleece ones, but again, they're very thin and they just cover you.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be the type of person that likes to wear like a snuggie type thing,
Yeah,
where it goes from the neck right down to your toes, there's nothing stopping you. You can bring it. Bring like travel socks if you like or you have big favorite socks or slippers that you want to wear.
That's what I do. They do look funny at me though when I walk to the washroom with my socks on without shoes. I don't care, because the thing I look at it, I go, you know what, I'm comfortable. I'm not going to try putting my shoes back on and go. And then I realize afterwards, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But my socks go into the wash and everything afterwards.
Correct.
But
And we talked about that previously. We
Yeah.
always have socks with you.
yeah, always.
Always.
Maybe 2 pairs, one for the one there and one
for
way
the
back.
So it's for in the airport in case you have to take off your shoes because you don't want to be walking through that security area with bare feet. And then you also want to be doing it on the plane. So that was on a previous episode. Which episode was that? Luggage?
Yes.
Oh, we were talking about luggage. Oh, that was
the one.
that was the impromptu taping with alcohol. We were talking about how bad it is if you you have bare feet.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too with people who have a fear for flying is that I think also, and I'm trying to think back to when I first flew the first time, what to expect when you're going through security. Because you hear a lot of stories about people getting like strip searched and all this stuff, and you can only bring this, you can only bring that. And the reality is that it's not that bad. They're there to protect you. And if you look at it from a different perspective, it's interesting because it's not so much I've done something wrong. No. They're trying to help you. And
I'd like to be able to tape the whole process. So I can do it by audio, because I'm flying out next week.
Mhm.
But going through the security process, and then we can post a video maybe.
Mhm.
My only concern is they don't think they allow taping and stuff in the security section.
You could probably stand there behind before you have to turn off your phone. And you can see the people before.
I don't know. Anyways, I'll do my best. If I have to, I'll videotape certain parts of it, and then the parts where I can't use the video on my phone for whatever reason, at least I'll have the audio portion of it. Or I can describe it to in a video after that. But I think that would be helpful for people who have never traveled before, and if that is one of their fears about the security there and back or whatever, what to expect, if that helps to relieve some of that apprehension
Absolutely.
about even just getting through the airport chaos. I know my parents, they're seniors, and they've gone on a few trips, but they've always gone with somebody else, or they've been with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that now that they're getting older, they're even more nervous at the airport about getting lost, going the wrong way, misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they making? Sometimes they'll divide people. You go in this lane, that he goes in that lane.
Oh yeah, no.
So there's all kinds of things, and I can see that they start getting nervous,
Mm-hmm.
right, of the unknown, about what's going to happen, and what if I can't find her after I go through this, and
another way, and now I'll put my other hat on for a second, just for 2 seconds, is
Mm-hmm.
that something I always suggest too is that go to special services or tell your travel agent ahead of time that you have a special need of some sort, or you need a wheelchair, or you need whatever you need, so that you actually don't have to worry about being separated. It never happens, because I mean the reality, but I do get it when you're standing in that line to actually go through the screening
and
process.
there's so many people,
Oh.
and
It's kind of crazy, but if you do have, if you're elderly and you're concerned, definitely reach out to your travel agent, and even you can reach out to the airport directly to ask questions. Never not think that a question is a bad thing. Just ask, because I mean we've all gone through it at some point. If not, we know someone who has.
yeah, and that's what they're there for. I mean, there's so many people who work in airports, and that's what they're there for. It's to sort of kind of make your process, be there for information for you, make things go smoothly. That's what their job is, so I should take advantage of it when you can.
Mm-hmm.
So any last other tips? Maybe things like, if you're planning a trip for the very first time on a plane and you think you're going to be, how far out should they be looking at? Reaching out to somebody
Who has?
to help them, if they can help you with it, or looking online for certain, maybe not always looking online, because everybody can post anything.
Yes.
Look at this, we post our stuff, so everybody else can. So I'm just thinking, like, timeline, how long should they give themselves to prepare for a trip like that?
There's actually a timeline that says that for however many years you've had that fear, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to resolve that fear in your mind.
Okay.
And just the processing of the change process that happens in our unconscious mind, because our conscious mind tries to protect everything that's inside our unconscious mind, if people believe in the two sets. But it does take about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the depth of the fear.
Okay, so if it's like
Totally new, and someone's been like petrified, maybe they've lost someone somehow or something, I would say as soon as you know you're traveling, reach out to a professional of some sort and just go through talking about it, finding out what exactly you're scared of.
do you have any tips or resources or things, like you were talking about, certain scripts or whatever, that you give to clients? Maybe we can include those in the show notes.
Absolutely,
to
I
give
have no
notes with
problem.
it.
Absolutely.
See? There you go.
Absolutely.
Free resources.
Yes.
I think that's about it for today. It's one of those things, you can't go into all kinds of funny stuff,
No,
which would be kind
no,
of awkward.
it would be. I only play that out in my head.
By
I'm
the
sitting
time
there by
when you're
myself.
watching this, I'm actually in Vancouver. When you're listening to this or watching this, so if you happen to be in the Vancouver area, or you're traveling that way and you happen to be crossing paths or whatever, send me a message on social media. I'm always up for someone to have a drink with.
Yay!
Because I'm there from the 27th, September 27th to October the 4th is when I come back. So basically be drinking your way around downtown Vancouver.
Nice.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. And I think that's about it that I can think of today. I think Nikki's going to be coming back for other episodes going forward, because I think that when we're talking about travel, having the perspective of flight attendant is really helpful. And I appreciate the fact that she does it very anonymously. It's kind of fun with the video today, having to seat her at this particular angle so that she couldn't be seen on screen, which was kind of fun. And if you have any other direct questions or something like that, you can always message us on any of your social media channels, and I'll get them to Stacy, and then she can
Absolutely.
direct you wherever you need to go. Because if you have a fear of flying, that means you're not traveling, and that
We don't like that.
and we don't like that.
We
That's
don't
not
like that at
that's
all.
not our
No.
that's not what we promote here. So we hope that everyone has a great travel season coming up, and you travel safely. Get where you need to go, but at least go somewhere.
Absolutely.
So until next week, cheers.
Cheers.